welcome everyone to Bridges. And those who have been here before know that this is a conversation about race, equity, and inclusion. It's not always an easy conversation, but it's a necessary conversation. And we're happy to bring it to whomever's listening every time that we do. Usually, Miss Kindness is here with me and leading these conversations, but today she is unable to make it. She is out. So you guys have me today, and I think that it's going to be still a very wonderful conversation. Do look out soon for these conversations to be hosted on a television format, Roku, and all the other streaming services very soon. That is on its way. And I hope that you guys will all sign in. Hi, Debbie. And for those in the room who don't know, I am Tiffany Watkins, and I am the founder of Vanguard Media Online. It is a platform for women in the cannabis space. Hey, Debbie, how are you?
Good. I usually come and listen, and I've popped up a couple times. I usually like to, again, listen and learn here. So I will not take up all the space, but I figured since Miss Kindness wasn't here, that I'd pop up and have two faces up here for now.
You know what? I appreciate that, and I love it. You always add wonderful things to the conversation. So you're very welcomed on the stage every time that you come, whether you speak with us or not. Today's conversation is going to be about loving yourself or loving your Black neighbor and counterparts the way that you love yourself. And it's such an interesting way that we're putting that. And I think we did that for a reason. Hi, Ayana. Hey, Sam. We wanted it to be kind of shocking and bold because when you're loving yourself, it's very self-focused, and that's perfectly fine. But because we have the conversations that include equity and inclusion and race, we want to make sure that we are loving that topic and massaging that topic into self-care. Why not? And so what essentially we mean by love your Black neighbor as you love yourself is that when you're treating yourself well, you're not even thinking about it. You're not taking anything for granted. You're saying, I'm going to purposefully and with intention treat myself well, respect myself, listen to myself, offer to myself. And we would ask in your everyday life, all of us, we should be thinking about our outward neighbors. We should be thinking about the self-care that we can lend, the care that we can lend to each other. And so when we talk about loving your Black neighbor, we mean when you see Black women and men, obviously, in your communities, in your circle or around your circle, offer them the same care you would offer yourself. Listening, not taking for granted, no assumptions, truth, ask questions, gain knowledge, all the things that you do to take care of yourself, do that to take care of an outward relationship that you may have with someone who doesn't match your race, doesn't match your skin color, however, whatever is most you relate most with. That if you see someone, find out more about them and find out how you can be a part of them feeling good and comfortable in the environment that you both will take up. So I will ask a question, since Debbie's up here already, I will ask a question to you. When I say that, and we are not the same race. When I say that to you, what does that bring up? What does that immediately give you?
I started thinking about the things I say to myself for self-care and affirmations, and how I am thinking those affirmations when I'm out in my community with other people. And the one that stuck out in me, I assume positive intent. And so when I'm out in the community, if I see someone who doesn't look like me for whatever reason, by always assuming positive intent, I make eye contact. I smile. I say, hi, how are you today? I try, again, that's something that I do internal, but I try and do when I'm out just in the world. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does.
Cool.
And that's exactly what I mean. The way that you don't even think about it when we say self care, like what we're talking about, it's the weekend right before Valentine's Day, and it's about caring, and it's about, we have a lot of things. Some people don't celebrate at all, and that's awesome, which, whatever it is. But right now, we're talking about self care a lot in society, not just around this Valentine's Day. It's just, really take care of yourself. A lot of self-care products, a lot of things. So our mind is there. The intention's been set, but I don't think it's been set well. And I don't think it's been set in a way that is not commercialized to buy
Right.
the product.
Right. I think of self-care is that treat yourself. Like, well, that just means you're going out and like having a good, like, is that self-care? Like, I don't know. It's
Well,
fun.
of course, it's fun if you're having fun and you haven't done it in a while, or you're actually
Right.
treating yourself, and you're treating yourself well. But I think that we can open that up. We have gone through a lot in the last 24 months. A lot of things where we talked and we broke open the shells on on racism. We broke open the shells on sexism and women's rights and things like that. And I just don't like the idea that we're going to sit idly by and not continue to dig inside the shell and make sure we got everything out.
Yeah.
And so I think that this conversation today is just a reminder that when you are thinking of, okay, I'm going to soothe myself, I'm going to be better so I can be stronger for the next week, that some of that intention set on being stronger for the next week, month, year, whatever that is set towards acknowledging what we've gone through for the last 24 months and applying something new to that. And that something new might, I'm going to find out a little bit more about those who don't look like me. Or
Right.
I'm going to see, why do I have these biases? Why do I feel I like this, that I know a certain thing about a person because of the way that they look or their community? And uncover that a little bit more. Stay uncomfortable, because we grew a lot in the last 24 months, and we grew because it was uncomfortable. And it's my belief that we don't grow when the spaces are comfortable. We
Right.
just keep taking up more of that space.
Yeah.
We become, and we're just elbows and knees and necks and shoulders all in this space, but we're not really doing anything. And the pandemic and everything that happened, George Floyd, all these things, the transition of power in the White House, all those things that happened that caused us to be very uncomfortable. And in that space, we were able to grow and see things. Those of us who wanted to see, there are some people who didn't grow. They still stagnant, and they're fighting against a system that is rapidly trying to change. And so when we talk about looking at our neighbor, looking at the person next to us or the person right over in the other community that maybe we don't associate with always, we're talking about being uncomfortable still. And if you are going to take care of yourself, take care of your surroundings, and that includes people. Sometimes that means including people, or at least finding out what it is that makes them tick if you don't know.
Right.
And if you really, really don't know, ask questions. And that's really something for everyone. I'm not saying that, oh, if you're white, go find a black person and ask them questions. Black people could ask white people questions. This is a full conversation that goes back and forth, because I think it's been so long that we live in this type of, I don't know, this type of friction that we don't know enough. We live in these assumptions, and we don't get to really know enough about our
I have to say too, just, as a white lady, like, there's, maybe you're somewhere where, it is very, white. You look around and you just see like a lot of other white people. There are so many resources online to hear Black voices and educate yourself. I am very, very grateful, that, I you know, I didn't necessarily have to rely on media to form my perspective, you know, as a person. I grew up in a very diverse area where I was able to see friends and people who, you know, maybe weren't exactly what the media was showing, you know, but nowadays, again, nowadays, I feel like I'm old, you know,
I say the
you know,
same
but
thing.
yeah, but like nowadays, like if you reach out, you don't have to just go to your one Black friend and put all the burden on them and have them teach you. Like, do your work. There's books upon books to read. Like, there's just there's a lot that you can do to educate yourself, to learn perspectives other than yourselves without having a Black friend. I just want to say that.
Agreed. There
Yeah.
are a lot more resources now at our fingertips than there were, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I always say, and you say nowadays, I always say back in the day. And I think I caught myself the other day saying to my kids, back in my day. And
Oh, yeah, I've done that.
I was like, well, I guess it's all here. I guess that's what
Right.
happens. It happens all at once. Suddenly you're old. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yep,
but
it's here. I got my gray hair. It's here, all right.
but yes, you're right. There's so many resources to educate yourself and to find out. It's just a matter of taking that time. And self-care should be a part of being should be equal to being a part of a community.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to take care and research how you can best, have your skin glowing, why not research how you can best be a part of your community and lend to your community's diversity? And it doesn't, and that goes across the lines of race and color, because we all can make our communities better. We just need to, yes, exactly, Desiree, you've hit it right on the head. Personal growth is equal to self-care. It is one of, absolutely.
That is definitely part of my affirmations and mantras. Like, if you're
Mhm.
changing, learning things is uncomfortable, but if you're just stagnant, if you're just super comfy, you're doing something wrong. You should be, in my opinion, for myself, I need to be continuously learning something.
Right.
That's part of my self-care. Like, I get bored. I need to learn new stuff, you know?
I do as well. It's constantly learning things. And sometimes there's things that you need to know that you didn't even know. And that's where those assumptions and biases come through. And I think that I'll share this. Growing up, and a lot of people here in this community of tokeativity know, because I've said it 1,000 times, I grew up really conservative, and I grew up in a predominantly white environment. And I'm not going to say it took a toll on me, because it did not, but my perspective about Black people was interesting. Because growing up, I was oftentimes one of the only Black people around. When I saw Black people, I saw them. Not that I saw myself as white, because my home was very much so, I was very much so a Black home, but there was a little bit of a disconnect. And what that's shown me as I work in my adult life in diversity, equity, and inclusion is that is how easy it is to create a bias. Unconsciously, I had a bias inside of me that separated me from people who shared my own skin. Wow. Because of and I wasn't subject to any racism. It wasn't really like that. It was just this separation because there wasn't representation in front of me. And the only representation I saw was in the media. And we know what the media does to many situations, and we know what the media has done to persons of color.
Right.
So you take a child and you have, that's what the introduction is. It's not surprising that as we grow, that could be the assumption of what we think a section of people are.
Right.
And because I can see that firsthand, because I did have to, of course, relearn things and go, wait, that's not the way it is. This is not the way people are. This is not what a Black man is, because a Black man is my dad. A Black man is my brother. So that doesn't mix up. That doesn't really match up, right? And so if a white person sees that and gets those same just natural bias and unconscious bias, then where is it that the work gets done to change that perception of who a Black person or a person of color is? That's the work we're doing now. And it is definitely a part of self-care. We owe it to ourselves, regardless of who we are, to know the most about our fellow human.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
It's super important.
Yeah. 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 It's so, I'm so grateful that conversations like these, since, it's been like 2 years now, I went to a similar conversation that some artists, some Black artists coordinated here in Denver, and invited the community to have like real conversations. And, I learned so much from that. But you know what? They did it once. I mean, it's a lot of work. You can't do all that. So thank you, Tiffany and Tokeativity, for still just keeping it alive and continuously allowing us to learn. Like,
Yeah, and you're welcome. But thank you as well, because it really does take all of us. It's not about, oh, I have to teach you, and oh, you've got so much to learn. We have got so much to learn about being good humans to each other.
Yeah.
Right now that we're just the little tips of the iceberg. We're just right here at the edges, taking care of racism, sexism, culturisms. We're taking care of the isms to get to the part where we can treat each other with kindness and respect. And be good humans to each other. There's just so much. We talk a lot about women's issues. Myself with Vanguard Tokeativity, of course, with their broad network, and with Bridges and these conversations, we talk about these canned subjects, and they're very important. But is that we've got to be better for each other and to each other.
Right.
And hopefully these conversations are just paving the way. That's why we want it to be a bridge. We want it to be a bridge, and that bridge runs multi-directional because it has to.
Right.
Definitely has to.
Just to kind of bring it back around to, loving, how we can love, our Black neighbors, practicing self-care during this time. Some of the things that I make a point to do, because I've always been a feminist. But I haven't always been as vocal as about racism as now. I've been vocal, but not like as vocal as I feel empowered to be now with all of these things. So I generally, when I go to businesses, first I look for Black women or women of color. But I'm in Denver, so I really look for Black women. I mean, there's more now, but I mean, there's a lot of white people in Colorado. And then but I look for, and then women. I mean, that's really where I try and give my business, whether like my most favorite art gallery is Sally Centigrade, owned by a woman, a Black woman. So we're going out next week with another couple of ours. A couple of our friends for a couple's dinner for some self-care love. And we're going to an Ethiopian restaurant, Ethiopian woman who moved here, brought all our recipes and all that. So, I mean, meals for me, I'm Italian, so your meals are like acts of self-care. And that's, when you bring your family in, that's when you're sharing that love. And so being able to do that in the community for Black businesses is something that is I think important for people to do. Go to your Black businesses, find them.
Yeah, that's community care. That's community care. It's self-care, because you're taking a trip to go and have foods from another culture. Yes. You're going to nourish yourself, which is part of self-care. You're going to nourish yourself with adventure through food. And, we don't do that enough here in the States. We try certain things. We have the favorite Chinese and the favorite Mexican restaurant, and, it might be a Thai place. And then we think that we're really honoring culture. I do culture. I eat sushi, and it's not enough. And when you're looking to apply that self-care model to your surroundings and love your neighbor of color the way you love yourself, you're really going to embrace that. You're going to give it a try.
Right.
Or at least, give them support. Everything doesn't have to be monetary. It's just a welcome, letting people know they're welcome to have a conversation or to, share something with you. There's just a lot of ways that we can support each other and offer up the self to our friends, neighbors, cohorts, network.
Yeah.
I really believe that. Does anybody else in the audience have anything that they would like to share with us up here? Stage is open. You can come on up. Give us your perspective. Coming up in the comments. And there's about, well, it looks like there's exactly 11 of us. That's pretty awesome. If anybody wants to come up and share, you definitely are welcome. And I'd love to hear some more perspectives on what people think about self-care and how that can apply to the human condition, specifically to our Black and Brown citizens. And I'll tell you this, as a person of color, there has been often, a lot of times where I have entered into spaces. And like I said, remembering I was raised primarily around white people, and still feeling, even though I connect and can connect in environments of space that do not look like me, I have really felt the barrier. The social barriers come up. And I find it very interesting that that I experienced that after growing up, high school, college, then college again, and having and even being in environments where, like by trade, I'm a network engineer, so that's a very male-driven field of tech, and so often being the only woman around. So I felt that before, and so I find it strange, even still to this day, when I have been met with barriers in a social situation. And I just think, boy, if I'd known it in those times, prior about the work that we're doing now in these last few years, that would have been great teaching times for people to feel a little bit more comfortable. But I think where that comes from is that, until people start to talk to me, they don't realize that, oh, there is something relatable. But someone shouldn't have to sound like you and be in the same environment as you in order for you to be able to find something relatable, to just break open, the icebreakers and start conversations. I think that is a wonderful way for us to exercise care with our community and citizens within our community that don't look like us, is just using an icebreaker. Hello, how are you? I'm Tiffany and you are. Just something to start that conversation and find common ground.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of social anxiety when I'm out in public, and I learned a really great tip from one of my girlfriends, and I use it all the time when I'm out, because I can't ever initiate conversation, right? So this helps me, like, have a reason to smile and initiate conversation with someone. And what she does is she picks out something great about their outfit, whether it's their earrings or their whatever, and it's like, oh, great earrings, or like, hey, great, like, and I love your earrings, Tiffany. My name's Debbie. How are you? I'm like, oh, that to me, I was like, why didn't I think of that on my own? Like, I genuinely like Tiffany's earrings. Why couldn't I have just thought of that myself? But that's, I guess my point is, like, there's always something relatable. Like, we all, you've got beautiful eyes, or like, wow, kick-ass shoes, or, like, well, maybe you shouldn't compliment people's eyes right away because then maybe you're flirting with them. But anyway, but there's generally something very easily relatable. We're human beings,
Yeah,
right? Like, just,
absolutely.
yeah, reach out, smile, be
No,
nice.
I definitely agree with that. There
Positive.
is, something positive. Just be positive. If
Yeah.
compliments aren't your thing, then you can talk about anything. Are you a sports fan? Are you can ask questions that break the ice.
Good. Send me
And
more tips, Tiffany. I need more tips.
yeah, and it's because a lot of people don't like talking to people. So it's not, I don't mean to imply that, go out there and talk to people, but there's other ways. And I think that another good way of showing self-care to your Black and brown neighbors is allyship. Being an ally is so soothing to those who you are fighting for, to those who you are standing up for. It is a wonderful feeling to know that there are persons who don't necessarily share your skin color or your cultural background that are willing to say, hey, wait a second. They deserve a chance to speak. They help to bring your voice to the forefront. Allyship is so kind. It can be such a kind-hearted thing to do. You're not going to always get it 100% right as an ally, because maybe it's not your culture, maybe it's not your gender, maybe it's just not something that you have experienced, but in your heart of hearts that it's not right. Treating this person and ostracizing this person and marginalizing this person is not okay. And it's such a kind act. And the opposite side of that is that it is soothing. It is helpful to know that, hey, I can grab a bunch of women, I can grab a bunch of Black women, and I can tell our experience. But Debbie, when you champion what we are saying, because you don't share our background, it just emboldens us. It strengthens the position. And it is very caring. So I would definitely consider that part of showing that self-care that you give to yourself, to your community, your neighbors, your Black and brown citizens in your area. Very much so soothing and self-care. So I think that's an important portion of it too, because not everybody's social. Sometimes you do your own thing and you might stand up for what's right, but you're not one to lead the conversation. But being there as an ally and showing holding them up.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to make a lot of noise to do that. You just have to show up and be there.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like, there's so much when you're trying to be an ally, if, sometimes, like, if you don't have the right thing to say, just not saying anything at all and leaving is more powerful, in some situations. But yeah.
That's a good point. If you're quiet, you're sitting there and someone's saying things and you're just like, whoa, I'm not really good with this. And that might not be your style to be confrontational. Not everybody's confrontational, but it's still, I teach advocacy. And one of the things that I teach is that all activism is not noisy. It's not noise. It doesn't have to be a speech. Sometimes it's a quiet protest.
Mm-hmm.
Just as much as sitting down, taking a knee, or finding the door, and not going back. This is not what I'm not going to be another person in this environment. And it can be very powerful, not using your voice, but using your actions.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
My dog just made a noise right there. I was like, we're not using our voices now.
Getting a part of the conversation. They wanted to be a part of the conversation. And let's see the comments here. Gratitude is a relatable topic. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm a part of a network called the Inner Circle, and their leader sends out a text message, once a week, once every other week, with simply this: what are you grateful for?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that it is very much so a conversation starter and a nice way to get back in touch. Love that, Takesha. Self-love towards your neighbors, being open to learn more about them. 100%. 100%. Very, very cool. I'm so glad to see interaction in the comments. Again, if anybody we have a few minutes left. If anybody wants to come up and give their perspective of what they're doing or what they think it means to show the self-love that you show yourself to your Black and brown neighbors, come on up. We'd love to hear, or if you have a question about it. The water's very, very warm up here, and happy to answer any questions in regards to I see something about cookies, and I love cookies. Bake cookies for the neighbors. Yeah, I like that.
I'd be your neighbor.
For sure. So Debbie, what is just because we haven't even covered what our self-care, like our actual self, what is your favorite self-care routine, item, ideology?
I've only recently gotten good at self-care. It's taken me 2 years to practice. Hi, Takesha.
Hi.
I'm a very disciplined person, right? So I like order and routine. So I wake up in the morning between 4 and 5. At 5 a.m., I listen to mantras, either online at Clubhouse or my own. I generally am favoring Toni Jones. She's a Black woman. I think she's based out of Detroit. She is amazing. She helps me affirm all of the lessons I need to learn and continue to learn and tell myself. I have bought myself, I'm not promoting her. I just really love her. But she just put out like this big like package with the lyrics of the stuff and all that. I bought myself that. I'm going to unwrap it on my birthday. I'm turning 48 at the end of March. And so it's going to be delivered. I'm going to wrap it up and I'm going to open up my self-care. So a little package from her. And so I do that. Again, I do smoke cannabis the whole time for these things. It really helps me get in touch with, that's how I commune with the universe. And I am part of the universe. And so it's very important for me while I'm saying the affirmations to feel completely balanced and have all of those things.
Nice.
Yeah. My other self-care is I do schedule an hour for myself also in the afternoon to say, okay, you're not at work right now. Now you're with your plants, you're with your family. I work from home and I take care of my plants and my family works from home as well. And it's time for me to not be involved in work and spreadsheets and everything else. It's time for me to be here with them and all of my plants. And so that's what I do on a daily basis.
Very
Whether
cool.
weekend or whatever, like I was going to quote Toni Jones, but I'll stop plugging her. Check her out. If you don't listen to her, you've got to listen to her.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. And you put my self-care routine absolutely to shame, which is simply and mine changes often. I think that lately my self-care has been in notebooks and taking mass quantities of notes. I've just been noting everything. I've noticed that when I'm around, even if it's mundane, sometimes I'm just writing. So that's really become it's surpassed the other of the routines I've had in the past. Is right now I'm just really channeling notes and having a resource to go back to on myself. So that's pretty much it.
I do also have scheduled journaling time. I have 2 times at 2 official times I journal, but I am constantly writing down. Yeah.
Takesha.
Yes. Oh, I agree. I love your self-care. Tiffany, documenting is a new thing that I've kind of considered, and I'm like, why haven't I been documenting? Like you said, going so I can go back and revisit who I was, where I was. And I think that's awesome. Also, Debbie, you had spoke to Toni Jones. That's my girl, all day. So yeah, I love that you, and that is one of the ways that you can love yourself and, or love your neighbor as yourself. I feel like the way that you plugged her and what she's about, and shared that with us. And that's what we need, that type of support where she's not even in the room, but she's being spoken about. And that's what I feel like that is, especially when you said you are part of the universe, just knowing that we all are, and keeping that in the forefront of your mind, not just you, but we are a reflection of you in a different form. And so I think that's the major way of just when you love yourself and you see your neighbor as yourself, you treat them the same way, you care for them the same way. You don't want to be, you don't judge them as if like you don't want to be judged. Then those are definitely ways to love your neighbor as yourself, especially your Black and brown, and be able to support. But my favorite way, or I think the best way, is through food, and being able to share different cultures, through food. And someone said they bake cookies for their neighbor. And so, yeah, just showing them, hey, this is who I am on a plate. Like, like I pour my heart out on this plate, and they can do the same. And you can just start the conversation like that. So inviting them to a space and having a meal or a sip of tea or something is a good way. So that's my spiel. But I love you guys, your self-care. I'm right in line with the journaling and the Tony Jones. Like, that's me.
Very nice. And yeah, that is a wonderful thing to remember and we often bring up food in our conversations when we're talking about equity and inclusion, especially race. When we're talking about the Black experience, we really channel a lot through our foods. There's a lot of stories. I think it was around either Christmas or the New Year's, or maybe it was just the holiday season of last year. We had a social. We were in this room and we talked about our food traditions, and a lot of those are rooted in trauma. They're rooted in racism. They're rooted in uplifting, and all of that rounded together gives the cultural experience of who you are. And so sharing that with someone is sharing an awful lot. So that was a good, I thank you for bringing that up for sure.
Yes, thank you.
So I am super happy to have had the two of you come up here and share this conversation with me. Again, Miss Kindness usually does co-host these conversations with me, but she's out today taking care of business. So it was just me, and you guys made it grand. Thank you to everyone who joined into the conversation today. And do keep a lookout for Bridges, conversations that are difficult sometimes, but always well worth it. And it will be coming to a streaming service near you very, very soon. Very soon. That should drop. So keep an eye out. And then this conversation will we'll have it again. We'll likely have this conversation again, because it is very important that we remember that building a bridge and having these types of conversations is the only way that we will love ourselves and everyone else. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.